Hi, welcome to Go Viral, tips for using target language social media with novice and intermediate learners in your classroom. My name is Lisa Bartles. I am a French and Spanish teacher that I've taught for over 20 years in secondary school. I'm currently teaching middle school in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I was the 2023 Teacher of the Year for the Foreign Language Association of North Carolina. I'm so honored that you've joined me today for this webinar, and I hope that you will leave with some practical activities that you can apply in your classroom this week and the resources and the know-how to make that happen. I have shared all of the resources and all of the documents I've curated as part of this presentation. They're linked in a document at this link on the screen. So please take a moment and pause this video and access the slideshow. You can access it at bit.ly/go_viral_WL for world language. Here is that URL, and just pause the video, pull that up, and then you can follow along and have access to all of the resources that we'll be discussing today in this workshop. All right, the plan for today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about some facts related to social media, how that can benefit us in the classroom, and what are our takeaways as teachers. Then I have 5 activities to share with you for using social media for reading and writing. I have 5 activities that I hope you'll be able to use for listening and speaking that I've used with my students. And then I have a few tips for how to find social media, how to make it more accessible and usable for you as a teacher, and how to manage some pitfalls that can come with social media use, and solutions that I found for some of those pitfalls in my classroom, that off-task behavior, the cheating, and how to address blocked sites in your classes. So without further ado, let's jump in and learn some facts and benefits and takeaways of social media. It's not going to surprise you that your students are on social media a lot. The Gallup organization did a poll in 2023 and found that teenagers spend an average of almost 5 hours per day on social media. If you have your own teenagers at home, or if you spend a lot of time with teenagers, this probably won't surprise you. But all teenagers spend an average of 4.8 hours. It's disaggregated by boys and girls. Girls spent a little bit more time. And that same poll looked at the preferred platforms of these students. YouTube, this was in 2022, YouTube was number 1. 95% of students, according to a Pew Research study, had at least used YouTube once. TikTok is second, followed closely by Instagram and Snapchat. About 2/3 of students use those platforms. And then that old standby Facebook, that maybe if you're in my generation, that was your go-to. About 1/3 of students use that, with some other platforms a bit lower. So YouTube is number 1. But we can harness this, or this is good information. Now, there's been a lot of ink spilled about the challenges of social media and all the problems they can cause, and I'm not discounting any of that. It's definitely true. Definitely all that time on screens has a negative impact on students. However, today we're going to look at some of the positives and ways that maybe we can harness this tool. It's a very powerful tool in our students' lives. How can we use it for good? How can we use it to impact our kids and to promote world language study with our students? So Mayo Clinic has done a study and found that sometimes social media platforms can help teens. It can help with expression. It can help them connect with other teens, both locally and across distance. It can help teens cope with challenging situations. Teens can participate in chat forums that can allow them to talk about topics that might be sensitive, such as mental health or other health topics. And social media, teens may be more comfortable asking for help or seeking healthcare on these channels than they would be in person. According to Jacqueline Nussey, who's a psychology professor at Brown University, she said the primary benefit is social connection. On social media, teens can find people who share their identities and interests. A 2023 article by the American Psychological Association stated that online social interaction can promote healthy socialization among teens, especially when they're experiencing stress or social isolation. Another recent study found that setting limits and boundaries across social media combined with discussion and coaching from adults is the best way to promote positive outcomes for youth. And I've emphasized that combined with discussion and coaching from adults, that's where we can come in as world language teachers. The approach of trying to like ban social media from students' lives or keep them off of it, it's probably counterproductive. It's a part of their lives. They've grown up with it. And our role as adults, I believe, is to show students how to harness this tool in a way that's beneficial for them and that in our classes can have positive academic outcomes. And so that's kind of the motivation for this little webinar that you're joining me in. I hope you share this goal that we as teachers can help students use social media positively. So here are the big takeaways. Number one, it's here to stay. Social media is integral to almost every teenager. We do know the downsides, they're real, but there are some upsides. And so takeaway number two is that we need to help our students find balance. We're not getting rid of it. It's here. So again, that's American Psychological Association article said it's important to realize there can be benefits for many teens. We have to take a balanced view if we want to reach teens and help them use these platforms in healthier ways. That is a role, I think it's part of our role as teachers today. The third takeaway, and we're going to talk about over the next hour, is that social media can be a teaching tool, and our classrooms are uniquely suited to integrate this tool. We can teach and model responsible and positive social media use. And our classes are really suited for this because we can use social media to strengthen communication, to connect to target cultures, and to show that our content area is relevant and engaging to our students. So why should we use it in our classes? Social media is engaging and fun. Teens love it. Most classes don't address it. Ours can. It incorporates cultural literacy in a way that's current. It mirrors the students' real life language use. They're spending 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day on these platforms in their real life. Let's integrate their real life with our content area and show them that our content area also connects to real life. The social media also uses casual language and all the slang that kids are always asking for. It's a great way to introduce new vocabulary and content that are in line with students' interests. It can be low prep. I'm going to show you how that can be true. Another thing I love about social media is a lot of times there's language errors in it. Of course, target language teenagers are writing and generating a lot of this social media content. They make mistakes, and it can be fun for our students to find and correct those. There's social media that's accessible for a variety of learning levels. And we can start almost on day one with our very, very novice speakers and show them that real target language, real life use. Introducing a lot of social media in class also facilitates extramural language learning. Extramural language learning is anything a student does outside of the classroom. That they do on their own initiative to interact with the target language. And there's a very strong correlation between students using the target language outside of class and going on to develop ultimate proficiency. So showing kids YouTubers, introducing them to TikTokers, introducing them to music and YouTube that they're interested in the target language, we're actually laying a foundation for those students to go on to be proficient in the target language later in life. So I want to share with you now, we're going to get into practicality. Here are 5 techniques to use social media for reading and writing. We're going to look at memes, we're going to look at listicles, quizzes and surveys. We're going to look at consumer websites, and we're going to look at Instagram stories. Okay, so first of all, memes. Okay, these are some memes, 2 in French and 2 in Spanish that I have used in my classes. And if you'd like to just take a second and pause this video and look at these memes, even if you're not a French or Spanish teacher, I think you can probably figure out some of what these memes are saying. And just pause the video for a minute, look at them, and think about how might you use these memes in your class, particularly if you're a French or Spanish teacher. What vocabulary, what culture, what grammatical structures might you highlight using these memes? And I'll just pause a second. Okay, and so I'm not going to go through every bit of every meme here, but just take a look at this one. Cansado de ser gordo y feo, sea solo feo. Gimnasio. Okay, this is an advertisement for a gym, and it says, "Are you tired of being fat and ugly? Just be ugly. Go to the gym." So it's pretty funny. What I love about this meme, it's accessible for very beginning students because we've got the word gordo y feo. These are adjectives that students are starting to learn. We can talk about adjective agreements here. We've got a little bit, also got cansado. We've got the verb ser. And if for upper level kids, we've got a subjunctive here, sea solo feo. Okay, that's just an example. And this could be something that you have up on the screen as students walk into class and they have to figure it out and figure out why it's funny. And then you can just highlight, just touch on the grammar points. Let's look at this French one. Les filles, quand elles retouchent leur photo, les mecs, quand ils retouchent leur photo. Okay, girls when they modify or when they edit their photos, and guys when they edit their photos. And so the girl one is beautiful, and the guy one looks like a little kid did it or something. It's just some words slapped on there. Okay, vocabulary. A lot of this vocabulary the kids aren't going to have had. They'll probably have had fille, which means girls, and they were going to have elle. They can figure out photo because it's a cognate, and then retouche is also kind of a cognate. It kind of looks like retouch or edit. So usually even beginners will figure out this is girls when they edit their photos. We've got the possessive leur here with a plural. We've also got the plural ent ending, the il, elle plural form of the verb, which is great for er verbs. And then I love that this has les mecs, which is slang for guys. Very common slang, but it's not going to appear in most curricula. But my students will figure out that les filles is the girls, they'll figure out les mecs is guys. So it's a really great way to introduce some slang for the students. Okay, in the slideshow, I've got links to my folder that I've curated of memes and that I use in my classes. You're welcome to help yourself to them. There's also a site here. This is a user-generated site for French memes. Kids put up memes. You must preview them. They are sometimes not school appropriate, often even not school appropriate, but if you go to the best of little folder there, you can find a lot of really funny ones. And I'll just sit down in front of the TV one night during the semester and I'll just start downloading memes that I like and I'll upload them to my folder and then I save them for when I need them. My friend Shelby Cole has a Pinterest folder with lots of Spanish memes, which she's been generous enough to share. And you can also just Google clean memes in your target language and you can find all kinds of memes. My recommendation is to just in one go, sit down for an hour, download a whole bunch of them, tag them with what you might use them for, and then you'll have that folder to come back to as you're planning your lessons when you get to them. Memes are high interest and low prep. They're a great sponge activity, like when you have a few extra minutes at the end of class or you run out of time, you can just pop one up on the screen and ask kids to figure it out. You can use it to reinforce all kinds of structures and concepts. And you can also ask students to write their own meme. You can give them a photo and ask them to caption it. And that's a great little writing activity. Okay, second activity I'd like to share with you are listicles. Okay, listicle means a list plus an article. Okay, these are online and they start with things like the 10 best or the top 25 or 10 things you should, ... So here's a few examples. Lo que cuesta comer en los 10 mejores restaurantes del mundo. And then the rest of the article, it just gives a little photo and little snapshot of the restaurant and how much it costs there, what kind of restaurant it is. Los 25 mejores jugadores de la historia del fútbol rankeados. So the 25 best soccer players in history ranked. Okay, this one will get your kids going. There will be a lot of disagreement about it, but it's got photos of 25 soccer players and a short bio of them. And then here's a French one, Les paysages insolites du monde. It's the most surprising landscapes in the world. Okay, so here's an example. Here's a screenshot from that paysage insolite. So we've got 3 landscape photos, and we've got a caption that tells you what it is and a little bit about it. What's great about this is that it's very accessible, even for beginning students. They can figure out what the vocabulary, what the site is about from the images. They've seen these listicle formats before, and so they can figure that out as well. And you can use it to introduce vocabulary. So this is an activity that I would give my French students to introduce vocabulary for natural features. So I give them a link to the website, which I've linked here in the slides for you. And I ask students to find these vocabulary words. So l'arbre is a tree, la plage is the beach, la cascade is a waterfall, and so on. These are words that appear in the headers of each of the 25 entries. And I asked the students to just look at the headers, just look at the pictures, and see if you can figure out what these words are and just draw a little picture here. And so the kids will start with cognates, of course, and then they'll start to build capacity to figure out more and more what some of this vocabulary is. And so I ask kids, you have to train them a little bit, like, please don't translate it to English. Please don't go to Google Translate. This is like a challenge to see what you can figure out. And the kids, especially if you sort of model for them and get them used to this approach, they will enjoy the challenge of figuring out vocabulary. Here's another example, les 10 des plus anciennes montagnes de russes du monde, the 10 oldest roller coasters in the world. And so I could ask students to go through and rank these from oldest to newest, identify facts about them, discover key vocabulary, ask them to rank them in order of what they would want to ride on, debate the best and worst, and you could ask them to write their own entry for a listicle. So let me pop back there. So these are a great way to introduce vocabulary and very easy to find, very easy to use with your students for both reading and writing. Okay, a third activity I love to do for reading and writing is online quizzes and surveys. Okay, so I got this idea when my elementary daughter she had her iPad and she kept asking me, like, Mom, what does inveterate mean? And she would like spell it out. What does emblazoned mean? She was spelling out these words, and finally I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm figuring out what superhero I am. It's this quiz. It's so funny. And I was like, if my third grade daughter will spend hours or sitting here and reading this stuff that's like clearly vocabulary wise a bit above her reading level, I wonder if this would work for my students. So our kids do love these social media surveys. If you'd like to pause the video right now, you can try one of these. I've given you examples from Novice French, Intermediate French, and then Novice and Intermediate Spanish quizzes that I would do with my students. And just pause for a second, try one of them, and then restart the video, and we'll talk about your experience a little bit. Okay, so when students, when I'm introducing students to one of these online quizzes, I hope you tried one and saw the potential of it. We'll take one maybe together as a class, or maybe I'll give it to my students, but I'll maybe model taking it before I let the kids try it and work through the new vocabulary with them. And then I let the kids try it, and the kids will do the online quiz, and they'll get to the end and they'll say, I don't like my response, and they'll try it again. So that's like an awesome way for them to have multiple exposures to the new vocabulary. It's in context vocabulary. You can also have students write their opinion of the results. They can do this with past tense or with present tense. So they could say something like, the survey said I was Wolverine. And then in present tense, I agree because I am brave and strong, or I disagree because I don't like adventure. Okay, so you send the kids back to the survey to pull the vocabulary that they need to kind of write their opinions. And so the survey becomes a reading activity, but then it becomes a language model for students' own writing. Sometimes these surveys, sometimes the websites are kind of janky. They might have like lots of ads that pop up and stuff. And so, or maybe they just have content you don't want. You can modify the survey by just kind of copying and pasting it into a Google form. If you want more information about how to do that, I do have a blog post that's linked here where I talk a bit more about how to put it into a Google form. So once students have used the target language surveys as models, then they can write their own survey about whatever topic that you're learning in class and administer to their students verbally. So I might have my students write a survey about their opinions on classes. And so it might be something, they might write a question like, do you like math class? And then they give 4 answer choices. Yes, math class is important. Yes, math is interesting. No, math is too hard. No, math is boring. And so students administer the survey verbally to their classmates in the target language. Their classmates have to listen and respond. So it becomes a bit of an interpersonal speaking activity. And then I ask my students to evaluate and write about their survey results. So they'll write in the second person, do you like math class? Their first person is the answer choices. I like math class. I think math is boring. And then they'll write a sentence about their survey results. 30% of students think math is boring. And that one is like the il plural or the ellos form, or maybe like 8 students say math is interesting. Okay. And again, I've got a lot more about this at my blog post on using quizzes, online quizzes and surveys. So please check that out if you'd like some more like technical details about how to make online quizzes and surveys work. Okay, a fourth way to integrate reading and writing from social media is with consumer websites, and especially any website that requires people to write a review. So I'm going to talk first about like travel websites, for example, like Airbnb or Vrbo or TripAdvisor. Here's one where for Airbnb where people wrote descriptions of different like vacation homes, and so the kids can go look at this. They in the target language, they can click on it and they can get details about the apartment, about how many bedrooms it has, what kind of furniture it has, the address where it's located, and the price. And then they can also read the reviews. Another example would be like a consumer website where students can, like, for example, Amazon in your target language, have your students look up a product and then look at why people liked or disliked it. Restaurant review sites can do this as well. There's a French one called La Fourchette.com where people write reviews of restaurants, and you can find good and bad reviews. It can be pretty fun to read the bad reviews and see what people dislike about them. Okay, some ways you can use this for novice speakers. Give them 3 or 6 different activities, and then give them a little like description of it, and they have to match them. You could even print this out and cut it apart and make it a matching activity and see if kids can match up the photo with the description of it. Ask kids to go through and find positive and negative adjectives, or ask them to compare and contrast 2 items. This is really great for technical vocabulary, any kind of a consumer website. Again, Amazon is ideal. So I had a student who loved hockey, and so I had him go to the Amazon and look up words for hockey equipment, because I actually don't even know all this equipment. I mean, I know a little bit of it, but like my student found this thing that I guess you use to like tighten your skate laces, un tendeur universel de lacets de patin à glace. I don't even know what that thing is called in English, but my student knew. And he was very excited to use this site to figure out all the vocabulary for the different hockey equipment that he uses in his daily life. This is really easy to differentiate. You can make it more challenging by asking the student to go more detailed in the vocabulary. Like maybe the kid got all the vocabulary, and I'm like, hey, you need to go back and figure out what the gender is by looking at what the gender of each item is by looking at the adjectives used to describe it. If you want to limit it, if you want to make it easier for students, you give them a smaller sample size to work with, or you can give them the English and the target language words and ask them to match them using the site. You can ask students to write their own review of a piece of equipment or of a restaurant or of whatever you're studying using the models of the reviews on the consumer website. And of course, as a teacher, you can always go through and screenshot or pull examples for students that are modified for the level of language learner and exactly what you need for your students. The last way to integrate reading and writing is with Instagram stories. So students love love using Instagram. A lot of kids have their own Instagram pages. They're going to be familiar with this formatting, and so I've given you here a little template where kids can write and create their own Instagram story, and then ask them to write a caption for each photo. So they can write a photo story for a sequence of events or a narrative. So if you've read a short story, for example, they can create the Instagram page of one of the characters in the story showing the sequence of events. They could also describe a collection of images like places in my town, or like here's shots of my school. Here are my friends, and I'm giving you a description of each one. And then you can put these in Google Slides, have the kids make them in Google Slides, and then share them with each other, maybe on one common document, put links to all the kids' Google Slides. And then they can use the comment feature on Google Slides to comment on each other's posts. And so you've kind of replicated now an actual activity that students do in their real life, but you're replicating it for your classroom. There is a link here to this template if you'd like to use it. And I've also shared it links to a product to use this for a proficiency-based project for a community unit. So check out those resources if you'd like to learn more. Today's webinar is really just a snapshot of some of the things that are available. So I hope that inspires your thinking for using social media for reading and writing. I'd like to now switch to using social media for listening and speaking. There's 5 techniques here that we're going to look at: this or that TikToks, video tutorials, pop music, YouTube comments, and using a talent search judge's commentary. So let's jump into part 3 of the webinar. Okay, this or that TikToks. I'm actually going to show you this TikTok. These were my friend Gloria Amerson shared this idea with me, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So take a minute and watch this TikTok. It's about a minute long.
Pomme ou banane?
Banane.
Banane ou orange?
Orange.
Orange ou fraise?
Orange.
Orange ou raisin?
Raisin.
Raisin ou ananas?
Raisin.
Raisin ou mangue?
Ah, la mangue.
Mangue ou cerise?
Mangue.
Mangue ou melon?
Ah, melon. Melon.
Melon ou citron?
Melon.
Melon ou kiwi?
Toujours melon.
Melon ou pêche?
Melon.
Melon ou poire?
Toujours melon.
Melon ou framboise?
Ah, framboise.
Framboise ou pastèque?
Framboise.
Framboise ou grenade?
Framboise.
Framboise ou abricot?
Ah, abricot.
Abricot ou myrtille?
Myrtille.
Myrtille ou papaye?
Myrtille.
Myrtille ou prune?
Myrtille.
Team myrtille alors.
Okay, so 2 minutes. Look how much vocabulary was introduced there in a really engaging and realistic format that is a bit of a trend on TikTok, or has been. You can use this to introduce vocabulary. There's lots and lots of them about food, many different types of food. You can also find them for sports and other types of and other preferences. So use it first to introduce the vocabulary. I might give kids images and the target language words, and they just have to match them as they're listening. And then I would send them back to the video and ask them to make notes about the pronunciation. How is the target language speaker pronouncing these? And let's copy him and imitate his pronunciation. And then, of course, you can have students create their own similar videos. And this is a way to use, we don't using isolated vocabulary isn't always proficiency based, but this is a way to actually use isolated vocabulary and practice that pronunciation in a format that is focused on.
Pomme ou banane?
And they're also great for cultural literacy. Let me show you just a clip of this one, which is about French cheeses.
Camembert ou Roquefort?
Roquefort.
Roquefort ou Gouda?
Roquefort.
Roquefort ou Reblochon?
Reblochon, sans conteste.
Reblochon ou Emmental?
Reblochon.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. Of course, you can watch that whole video in your on your own time. But one thing that's super interesting is I think they go through about 40 different types of cheese, and the guy knew every single type just by hearing the name of it and had an opinion on it. So that's a cultural piece of information about this native French speaker and what's important to him. Okay, TikTok. Teachers sometimes tell me, like, I don't want to use TikTok. I don't want to have a TikTok account. You don't have to. You can actually peruse TikTok without having an account. Um, you can't make comments and stuff without an account. But if you just want to look at the videos, you can. And I've linked here a few channels to get you started. The French channel that I used for these two examples is here, Breath Media, and I've got 3 Spanish channels that have content that might be useful and appropriate.
Camembert ou Roquefort?
Yours.
Roquefort.
And let's go on. Okay, so those are TikTok, this or that trend. I can't remember if I mentioned it. My friend Gloria Amerson, who's a really amazing French teacher in Wake County, North Carolina, shared those with me. Okay, video tutorials. Here's another great technique for listening instruction. I'm just going to play a little clip of this video for you. I think it's about 9 minutes long. We're just going to watch the beginning of it. And this is a drawing tutorial on how to draw SpongeBob. If you'd like to, just grab a piece of paper and try joining us, joining the video tutorial. And especially this one's in Spanish, but if you're not a Spanish speaker, even better, because that replicates a little bit the experience that our students would have. So let's take a look.
Hola amigos, bienvenidos un día más a DibuClases. Hoy vamos a aprender a dibujar a Bob Esponja. Vamos a empezar dibujando la forma del cuerpo, así, y bajamos hasta aquí, y ahora le hacemos profundidad. Haciendo una especie de ondas. Vamos a hacer la nariz y las ondas por aquí. Cerramos el cuadrado.
Okay, I'm just going to stop there to save time. I think you have the idea of what this video is like. But I would have students just watch it from beginning to end. And at the end, let me see if I can pull it up. They would have a whole Bob Esponja. Sorry, I probably said that wrong in Spanish, but they would have the whole Bob the Sponge, SpongeBob. And we would the first time through, we just watch it and we just copy her and we do what she's doing and get our drawing. Okay, so that's first step. The second step is we're going to watch again, and this time we're going to label the body parts that she said. So I would give students this list: la boca, el brazo, and so on. And we might go through and listen to the pronunciation, especially in French. We would work on pronunciation or practice that a little bit, so we know what we're listening for. And then I have students work again with the tutorial and try labeling each of these body parts as they listen. And so let's see if I can jump on here. Okay. And okay, so yeah, that's it for that one. But that would be like an introduction to vocabulary. It works great for body parts with a drawing tutorial, but you can find tutorials for all kinds of things online that are a really nice listening activity. And so to springboard off of that, sometimes I'll ask students to create, and maybe in like level 2 or 3, and a little bit upper level where they're approaching intermediate proficiency, I'll have students create their own listening exercise for a YouTube video that they're interested in. So they need to choose a topic that they're interested in and look for a tutorial and some examples would be a makeup tutorial, a sports tutorial, like how to improve your volleyball serve or how to run faster. Video game tutorials, there's lots and lots of these and the kids watch them all the time. A cooking tutorial would be another example. And so I ask students to find a tutorial on the topic of their choice. Sometimes they need a little coaching and help with the search terms, but we search in the target language. And then as they're watching their video, they need to find 5 vocabulary words that are relevant to their topic and also create 3 listening questions for that video. And then we'll maybe create a Google form or create a paper document of the version of the document. And then they exchange and give those listening exercises to their classmates. So this is such a great activity for kids because it cultivates their own interests. It's totally individualized. Sometimes kids do have trouble finding the video, and I will help them with that, but the students will spend a long time looking for the video that will work for them in the target language, and then they'll listen to that video over and over again so that they can pick out the 5 words and pick out the 3 listening questions to give to their classmates. And so I find that this is a very motivating activity for kids in that intermediate low proficiency band, and they start to use social media, use the YouTube videos in a way that helps them actually use the target language on topics that they're interested in. So great activity. Okay, target language pop music. There's been a lot of interest in using pop music in class in the past decade, and I think it's great. If you've already used it in class, keep it up, because this is one of the most motivating for activities for kids. These are just, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth on this because I think a lot has been written about it, but here are some activities that I do with students. I have them sequence the lyrics. I'll print out the lyrics, chop them up, and then the kids have to listen to the song and sequence the lyrics as they listen. And you don't have to do the whole song. You can do a piece of it. You can do just the chorus for more novice students. Same thing with a close. They listen and they have to fill in specific words. Don't feel like you have to use the whole song. You can use just a little piece of it, even with those very beginning students. Have kids discuss their opinions about the song, the dance, the video. Learn personal information about the artists, about their home countries. Go to their social media websites. You can take screenshots of those websites and show them to kids so they can learn more about the artists. And reading those comments on videos is always great. Like on the YouTube comments after a video, I'll go through and curate. I'll take screenshots of comments that I want my students to see, and then have the kids write their own. Remember that students don't have to understand every word of a song for it to be valuable. You can use a short clip. You can use just a chorus or a repetitive piece, or a piece that highlights vocabulary that you're working on. On my blog, I've got a lot more ideas for using target language music, and there's lots and lots of online resources as well. I've linked there 3 sources that are very helpful: Menu Musical for French, Lo Coro de Marzo for Spanish, and ESL Songs for ESL teachers. Okay, that kind of segues into using YouTube comments. So I actually, after my students listened to the song Mon Beau-Frère by Black M, then I went through and I pulled some YouTube comments and just screenshotted them for my students to look at. And I just had my kids figure out what they mean and figure out maybe some of the slang that's in them. So you can pause this really quickly if you'd like to look at this, but you can see like Black M est une légende. Super easy to understand, and something that my students would write themselves and would see on a YouTube video. Okay, last listening activity is related to talent shows. So talent shows have become really, really popular in the US and overseas. Examples would be like American Idol or The Voice. And those shows exist in target languages as well. I've got a screenshot there from The Voice French version. And so the things the judges say to the contestants after they sing are really, really great vocabulary. And so one thing I'll do is I'll get a transcript of the judges' comments from the video. I'll chop it apart, and the kids have to listen. First, they might have to read and understand the comments, and then maybe they have to rank those comments from most to least positive, or identify the words that are positive or negative. Then we'll listen to the video, and the kids have to match each comment to the judge who said it. Or maybe they have to sequence the comments. So that ties that listening task to reading and writing, and it kind of integrates everything that the students are working on in a kind of proficiency-based model with a lot of interesting vocabulary. So how do you find the social media? That's kind of the moving into the end of the webinar. Hopefully I've inspired you with some ideas for using social media. But if you're like me, you don't want to spend every waking moment on social media. I actually don't enjoy social media use a lot myself. So how do we use it? How do we find it? how do we not live online? Okay, well, a few little search tips. First of all, use your target language browser. So if you're a French speaker, google.fr is going to give you, and then once you go to google.fr, do your search in French, you're going to find better results because that's the way that target language speakers search. Same for Spanish speakers. Google.com.mx is Mexico's browser, and there's versions of that for other target language, other Spanish-speaking countries. So find the Google browser extension that works for the country you want to search in. You'll get better search results. And then use target language search terms like quel superhéros suis-je? Donde debo ir para las vacaciones? Or whatever it is you're searching. Search the way a target language teenager would search, and don't search in English. Where should you search? First of all, look for online libraries. I have several online libraries tagged in this slideshow that I hope will be helpful to you. And if you find a good library, like, hey, here's a great TikTok channel. Here is a really good YouTube channel. Like, save it in your favorites or save it in a running document. So that you have access to it. Also, online discussion groups, Facebook groups, and so on are really helpful in sharing these kinds of information. You can say like, hey, I'm looking for a short video, a YouTube short or a TikTok that's related to, whatever topic. And your colleagues across the country and across the world will help you. Search a little bit at a time. I like to search when I'm not stressed. I like to search in Saturday afternoon when my kids are home and I'm just, everyone's kind of around the house, and I just pull up my laptop and I just spend a little bit of time kind of poking around and go down the rabbit hole, see what you can find. And when I do find something good, develop a system to tag it or save it. I have a chart. It's just a Google Doc where I have all my units. And if I find something like, hey, here's a really great video about clothing, I'll just put the link in this document and say like video about clothing. And here's one thing I like about it, or here's what I might use it for. And then I forget about it until I'm ready to teach that clothing unit. I'll pull up my running document and I'll say like, oh yeah, here's that video I found 6 months ago. Let me see if I can develop that now into an activity for my students. My last tip is to get your students to help you. I have a standing offer of extra credit to any student who brings me a social media resource that I use in my classes. And so some of the kids will spend hours poring over social media outside of class in the target language to try to find something for you. That is good. And if there's something specific I want, I'll tell the kids, here's my criteria. Here's what I'm looking for. Help me find this. And some of your kids will do it. How do you get transcripts? I had suggested using transcripts of songs, using transcripts of YouTube videos, of those talent search shows. Okay, it's really easy. When you go to YouTube, click on the show more in the description. Then scroll almost to the bottom and there's a link that says show the transcript. And when you click on that, on the right, you'll have an auto-generated transcript. It's the same thing that is like they get for auto-generated subtitles. It's the transcript. So it's not always perfect, but it's a pretty good starting point. Not every video has this, but any video that has closed captions has this auto-generated transcript, and it can be very helpful to start you out. You can also generate a transcript with AI. There's quite a few different AI tools out there. There's more and more, it seems like, but one that I'm familiar with is Twee. I learned about this from Natalie Etsavuglu, who presented on it in a workshop I was at. And it's super easy. You do have to create a free account on twee.com. And then once you're there, you click this convert audio and video to text. You paste in your video link, and it takes a couple of minutes. Your video shows up. You have to click. This one will do a 5-minute or less segment, but you click the segment you want, and it takes a few minutes, but it will generate a transcript of the video. You can also get it to generate listening or discussion questions. So this is a really helpful tool. I know there are other AI tools as well. Magic School is one that some of my colleagues use, and maybe you're familiar with other ones, but if you haven't investigated AI to help you transfer between audio and print, you need to check that out. It's very accessible, it's very manageable, and it's something that is a huge help and time saver to us as teachers. Okay, thanks for staying with me for almost an hour. And I do have a few last little tips, potential pitfalls related to using social media in class and how you can solve those. And the biggest pitfalls are off-task behavior, cheating and misuse of translators by your students, and also finding out a site is blocked by the school. There's nothing worse than finding a great source at home, and then you go to school and the kids can't access it. That's very frustrating, but there are workarounds for all of these. Okay, so I'm first going to address the off-task behavior and the cheating and translator misuse issues. Now, I do have to tell you, you probably can guess this, but there is no silver bullet. There is no one thing that is going to like eliminate these problems. As long as kids have screens in their hand and devices, there are probably going to be kids getting off task. The kids are always going to be tempted by that siren song of Google Translate. So it's part of our job to work with students, just like we're working with them to use social media appropriately and positively. We need to work with them to use these other tech tools appropriately and positively. And so these are a few solutions, but they're only partial solutions. And this is something we always have to be alert to. So for the off-task behavior and the translator misuse, the first thing I always do is provide curated documents. So I don't just send kids to a website to say like, find something. I mean, okay, I did send them to YouTube to find a video, but those are a bit older students. And they have a very specific task. But if it's like a meme, I'm not going to turn them loose on the meme website. I'm going to give them the meme using a screenshot that I want them to see. I'm not going to send them to TikTok to watch this or that video. I'm going to give them that TikTok video on my classroom, on my online classroom, where they only have access to that one. The second solution to this is have students work on paper. I know that's a little bit counterintuitive after I just told you, like this whole session has been about using social media. But even if students are looking at the online source, asking them to handwrite something for you, I think it's a very powerful combination where they're accessing the authentic document and then they're generating something by hand themselves. I used to use a lot of tech tools for submissions and things. And after COVID, I've gotten to using more and more handwritten paper documents because it just cuts down on a lot of problems. I think the process of handwriting is good for students. If students are tempted to just go to Google Translate and copy and paste it over, they still can copy from Google Translate, but at least they have to take the time to handwrite it out, this nonsense thing that they don't know what it means. And it reduces some of the benefit of using that easy way out. So look for ways to hold students accountable with a handwritten assignment. Another solution is we have to view this issue as something we need to teach students. Just like I'm teaching my language content, just like I'm teaching my target language, I am also teaching students how to use translators correctly. I use translators in my own life. Sometimes I don't know a word, or sometimes I want to like check my phrasing, and I'll pop it into Google Translate, or I'll pop it into a French spell checker just to make sure I'm on track. So if I'm doing that as a professional in my own language use, I need to teach students how to do it too. And so I will model for kids like, hey, I don't know this word. Here's a place I would use Google Translate, or here's how I would use it. And I'll show them that, or I'll show them sometimes when I'm reading something and I'm like, I don't know what this phrase means. So how am I going to handle that? I'm going to first try to build comprehension. And then if I'm really stuck, I might look the word up. So I do use Google Translate. Sometimes I use that own language use modeling as a model for my students. Also, think about your assessment practices related to student technology use. One thing I think that's really important, and more important as AI becomes more of an issue, is we have to grade students on their process. So if I'm asking kids to create a target language survey and then administer it to students and then write a summary of it, I'm going to give them a small grade or a checkpoint at each of those points. And maybe their questions have to be handwritten out on a form I give them. And then they administer it to students verbally and take notes. And I give them a completion grade on that, or they have to do some sort of an exit ticket. And then they finally turn in their final product. So instead of having this be one huge project grade, it's broken up into smaller grades that hold students accountable at each step of the process. Also, I think it's great practice to build translator use into your rubric. And as you're teaching students to use translators, put that in as part of their grade. So as one rubric point, I might say something like, I looked up a maximum of 3 words in this paragraph, or I looked up a maximum of 1 word per item on my listicle, and I know what everything in my project means. This takes out some of the ambiguity of kids trying to argue with you if they use a translator or not. And it's like, I'm not asking you if you Google Translate the whole thing. I'm asking you if you know what everything means. You have to be accountable to use a translator in such a way that you know what everything means. Maybe you needed it, but you only need it for a little bit. You still need to construct the sentences yourself. I have a lot more about this, about assessment practices on my blog. So please go check that out if you're interested. The third challenge we run into as teachers is sites being blocked by the school. And the way around that is to get the media at home and embed it or save it in a format that you can then access at school. For still media, you can use screenshots, and for videos, you can download those and embed them. So here's just a quick tutorial on doing that. There's a tool on Microsoft computers called the snipping tool. You click Windows, Shift S, and then this snipping tool comes up. It comes up at the top, and it lets you cut and paste or crop the area that you want. You just drag in a square around the area you want. And then another pop-up comes up that says it's saved to your clipboard, and you can paste it in a document, or you can also click on that box and download it. So that's actually all the screenshots that I've had in this, screenshots of social media that I've had in this slideshow. That's the technique that I use. For something like TikTok, I mean, TikTok is blocked at my school. But at home, you can right click on the TikTok video, and then you can download it, and then you can upload it to Google Drive or share it or embed it. Now, of course, you need to cite your sources and make sure you're using things fairly and appropriately, but those are some ways to get around the social media blocking at the school. Okay, thanks for being with me for the last almost hour. And I hope that this webinar has inspired you, has sparked some creativity, and has sparked some ideas for using social media in a way that is positive and that strengthens your instruction. Again, my name is Lisa Bartels. I've got lots and lots of tips and other information at my blog, which is www.explorercurriculum.com. If you are following along with the slideshow, it's linked there. You can access these slides at this URL, bit.ly/go_viral_WL. And in the slideshow, everything is linked. I've got a link to all of the resources that I used in the slides and some free products that I hope will be helpful to you. I do have a Teachers Pay Teachers store. I'm on a little bit of social media. I don't love it, but I do have a newsletter, and my blog is my biggest source of sharing out with teachers. Also, I'm available to present at your school or your district's professional development. My contact information is there. So thank you once again for joining me. And I hope that after today's workshop, you will go viral with your novice and intermediate students. Take care.